It started 3 days ago when my wife Hannah left her email open on our shared laptop. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I just needed to check something in my own inbox and noticed a confirmation for a dinner reservation at Bellini's, this upscale Italian place downtown that costs a small fortune. The reservation was for 2 people, tonight at 8 p.m. My first thought was that she was planning a surprise date night for us. Our 5-year anniversary is next month, and we've both been so swamped with work that quality time together has been scarce. I smiled, thinking how thoughtful she was being, and closed the email without mentioning it. Then yesterday, I was looking for the charger for our wireless speaker when I accidentally knocked Hannah's planner off her desk. It fell open to today's date, and I couldn't help but notice what was written there. Dinner with Michael. 8 p.m., Bellini's. Michael, her ex-boyfriend from college. The one she dated for 4 years before we met. The one she described as the one that got away when we first started dating. The one who moved to Seattle after graduation but apparently moved back to our city 6 months ago, according to Hannah's casual mention over dinner one night. My stomach dropped. I put everything back exactly where I found it and tried to convince myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was a business dinner, though Hannah had never mentioned working with Michael. Maybe it was just catching up with an old friend, though she hadn't told me about these plans. Today, Hannah left work early, saying she had errands to run. She took special care with her appearance this morning. The new dress she bought last weekend, her favorite perfume, the pearl earrings I gave her for our anniversary last year. I sat at home, watching the clock tick toward 8 p.m., my mind racing with possibilities, each worse than the last. I tried calling her twice, but she didn't pick up. At 9:30 p.m., I texted to ask if everything was okay. Fine, just running late, she replied. Not, I'm with Michael, or having dinner with an old friend. Just running late. I tried to distract myself with TV, but couldn't focus on anything. Around 11 p.m., I heard her key in the lock. Hannah walked in looking flushed and happy, her eyes bright in a way I hadn't seen in months. She smelled like wine and that same perfume, now mixed with something else. Cologne, maybe? Where were you? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. Her smile faltered. Out, she said, slipping off her heels. Out where? It's really none of your business, she snapped, suddenly defensive. I'm allowed to have a life outside this house, you know. Those words hit me like a slap. In 5 years of marriage, we'd never kept secrets from each other. At least, I thought we hadn't. I know about the dinner, I said quietly. With Michael. Hannah's face went through a series of emotions, surprise, guilt, anger, before settling on defiance. She crossed her arms over her chest. You went through my things, she demanded, voice rising. I saw the reservation confirmation when you left your email open, I explained. And then I accidentally knocked over your planner. I wasn't snooping, but I'm glad I found out somehow since you clearly weren't planning to tell me. Hannah sank onto the couch, suddenly looking exhausted. It's not what you think. What am I supposed to think? I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. You secretly made dinner reservations at the most romantic restaurant in town with your ex-boyfriend, the guy you once called the one that got away. You got dressed up, wore your best perfume, and then lied about where you were going. When I asked where you were coming from, you said it was none of my business. How exactly is this not what I think? Michael reached out to me last month on LinkedIn, she said after a long pause. He wanted to catch up, that's all. In secret? At a romantic restaurant. I knew you'd react like this, she muttered. That's why I didn't tell you. Her words stung. After 5 years together, did she really think so little of me? React like what? Like a husband concerned that his wife is sneaking around behind his back. It was just dinner, Hannah insisted. We have history, yes, but that's all it is, history. He's married now too, you know. That detail gave me pause. Then why all the secrecy? Why not just tell me? Hannah looked away. Because I knew you'd make it into something it wasn't. Because sometimes I need space that's just mine. Because, her voice dropped to a whisper. Because I wanted to remember who I was before I became just someone's wife. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Is that how you feel? Like being my wife has erased who you are? No, that's not. She rubbed her temples. Look, Michael was a big part of my life for a long time. When things ended between us, it wasn't clean. There were things left unsaid. When he reached out, I realized I needed closure. That's all. Closure after 7 years? While we're married, I stood up, pacing the living room. And what about his wife? Does she know about this dinner for closure? Hannah's silence told me everything I needed to know. So both of you lied to your spouses about having dinner together, I said flatly. That sounds like a great foundation for innocent catching up. Nothing happened, Hannah insisted, her eyes filling with tears. We talked, that's all. But yes, it felt good to be seen as Hannah again, not just as your wife or as my boss's employee or my parents' daughter. Just me. I sat down across from her, trying to process everything. You could have told me you were feeling this way. You could have told me you needed space or wanted to reconnect with who you were. I would have understood that. What I can't understand is the lying. Would you really have been okay with me having dinner with Michael? I wanted to say yes immediately, to be the bigger person, but I hesitated. Would I have been okay with it? I'd like to think so, but the truth was more complicated. I don't know, I admitted finally. But you didn't give me the chance to find out. You made that decision for both of us when you decided to lie. Hannah wiped away a tear. I'm sorry for not telling you, but I'm not sorry I went. Those words hung in the air between us, heavy with implications neither of us was ready to face. 2 days passed in icy silence. Hannah slept in the guest room. I threw myself into work, staying late at the office to avoid coming home to an empty house that no longer felt like ours. When we did cross paths, our conversations were painfully polite, limited to household logistics, and nothing more. On the third night, I found Hannah sitting at our kitchen table, staring at 2 mugs of tea. She looked up when I walked in, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. Can we talk? She asked softly. I nodded, taking the seat across from her. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she finally said. About us, about the dinner with Michael, about everything. I waited, not trusting myself to respond. The dinner wasn't romantic, not really, Hannah continued. But you were right that it wasn't entirely innocent either. I've been feeling lost lately, like I've forgotten parts of myself somewhere along the way. She took a shaky breath. When Michael reached out, it felt like a lifeline to my past, to a version of me that knew exactly what she wanted. And what do you want now? I asked, afraid of the answer. Hannah's eyes met mine. That's what I realized during our dinner. Michael and I talked about old times, yes, but mostly about our lives now. He showed me pictures of his kids. We laughed about how young and dramatic we were in college. She reached across the table for my hand. By dessert, I knew with absolute certainty that what I want is this life, our life. You. Relief washed over me, but it was quickly followed by doubt. Then why the secrecy? Why tell me it was none of my business when I asked where you'd been? Because I was ashamed, she admitted. Not because anything happened, but because I knew meeting him that way, without telling you, was a betrayal of your trust. When you confronted me, I got defensive because I knew I was wrong. I absorbed her words slowly. You said you feel lost, that you wanted to remember who you were. Have I somehow made you feel like you can't be yourself with me? Hannah shook her head vehemently. No, it's not you. It's me not communicating. Somewhere between the promotions and the house and planning for our future, I started feeling like I was just going through motions, checking boxes. Meeting with Michael made me realize that nostalgia is just that. Nostalgia. It's not real. What's real is what we've built together. We need to be able to talk about these things, I said. The hard stuff. The scary stuff. If you're feeling lost, I want to know. I want to help you find your way back. Not to who you were before, but to who you want to be now. I know, she whispered. I'm sorry I shut you out. And I'm sorry if I made you feel like you couldn't tell me about meeting an ex. I'd like to think I would have been understanding. A small smile appeared on Hannah's face. You've always been more understanding than I deserve. That night, Hannah moved back into our bedroom. As we lay in the darkness, she told me about her dinner with Michael. Not the sanitized version, but the truth. How for a brief moment, she'd wondered, what if? But by the end realized that their time had passed for a reason. How talking with him had clarified rather than confused her feelings about our marriage. In the weeks that followed, we started couples therapy. We both recognized that what happened was a symptom, not the disease itself. Hannah began journaling again, something she loved in college but had abandoned in adulthood. I made more effort to see her, really see her, not just as my wife, but as the complex, evolving person she is. The trust didn't return overnight. There were still moments of doubt, conversations that ended in tears. But slowly, we began rebuilding what had been damaged. Stronger this time, with a foundation of honesty we'd taken for granted before. 6 months later, Hannah suggested dinner at Bellini's, for us. As we sat across from each other, sharing a bottle of wine, I realized something. Sometimes you have to nearly lose what matters most to truly understand its value. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.